Hey, and thanks so much for being with us today. Whether you're watching online or listening to us on the radio, we're so glad that you made the decision to be with us. If you're interested in supporting the ministry of Grace Church, we have several ways that you can do so. Please visit gchurch.us/give and find out how you can be a blessing to our ministry. We believe God has something unique to say to you through the message from Pastor Ron. Our hope is that you feel the love of God through the message stronger today than ever before.
Dreamers are welcome here. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." I want to talk about renewing your strength. In all of this, I want to talk to you about renewing your strength. I got a word a year and a half ago, and it said this: God's not done with you. I was glad to hear that, because when God's done with you, you know where you go. Heaven, or I guess. When my brother-in-law died, we went down to Verizon and give his phone back and close his account. And the lady said, where do we send the bill? And I said, heaven, I think. I think that's where he went. I'm not real sure. All right. But this one, God's not done with you. He's going to give you stamina and vigor. And so I don't use stamina and vigor very often in sentences, so I had to look it up. And stamina means staying power, and vigor means physical strength and good health. How many want physical strength and good health? So here it says, this is how you do it. This is one way. He says, you wait on the Lord, He'll renew your strength. You wait on the Lord, He'll renew your strength. Now, there's some ways to do that, and we'll talk about that. But when God renews your strength, it's a dimension of strength that you can't imagine. In other words, in your own self, you can't do that. In yourself, you can't renew your strength. There's ways for you to refresh yourself. You can sleep, you can rest, you can do all those things. But on your best day, you can't do what God can do supernaturally in renewing your strength. So God, it says, He talks about this, waiting on the Lord will renew your strength. But there's another way, and this is what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the word good things. In Psalms 103, and we're going to go through the book, some more scriptures in Psalms 103. It says He satisfies your mouth with good things. Good things. I want you to focus on this. Good things. What refreshes you so that your youth is renewed like an eagle's. I thought about this when I first read it. I thought, well, this is for youth. This is for young people. But it's not. It's not for young people at all. It's actually for old people. This is an old people sermon. And so it's to me. I like it. It says that the good news, He will give us good things, and the good things, listen, so that, understand this word, so that your youth is renewed. I'm helping Ryan put drywall in his house. 5/8, we only got 4x8 sheets because I'm not stupid. So we're putting that up, and this morning when I got up, I told Debbie, I didn't even know I had muscles right there. The muscles that are sore, and used to it never hurt me at all. Because, see, I'm being renewed. I need renewal to my youth. That's what he says here. So when we talk about good things, we have to think about good things. And we have to say good things. This says, who satisfies your mouth. That's not a very good translation. We'll talk about it a little bit later. It's not a really good translation, but there is speaking involved. There could be speaking involved. And this is what we do, is you got to start speaking good things. You remember that a few years ago that there was a thing going on, and somebody would say something they didn't want to hear, and they'd say, just speak to the hand, speak to the hand. I always like that. I think we as Christians, we need to pick that up. I think when somebody starts speaking negative things to us, we ought to say, speak to the hand, speak to the hand. They don't know what to do. Whenever you tell somebody, when somebody begins to talk negative to you and you don't receive it, by the way, they don't know what to do. Everybody's got a bad word. Everybody's got a bad word. Everybody's got some gossip, has got some bad report, some negativity. But if we would learn to get out of negativity, I mean, when you walk into a room, do you see what's wrong with that room or do you see what's right with that room? That, by the way, is habit. That's habit. So we break those habits and we begin to do this. You see, we empty out worry and God will put in place of that his peace. But he can't put peace in us as long as we're worrying. And if you're listening to the news and you're believing what they're saying, or even if you're considering what they're saying, eventually you're going to start being anxious and worrying, and you're not going to have the peace that you need. If you can get rid of discouragement, people want to discourage you, by the way. They'll try to discourage you. I know. They try to discourage me all the time. I won't take it. Speak to the hand, right? Negative things people have said about you. You ought to try being a pastor who talks every Sunday, and some of it gets recorded, but many of it gets notated, and they hear the negative stuff that people want to say to you. Like, you guys don't have to put up with this. You know, you just talk and people talk, but some reason when I talk, there's a lot of negativity that can come out of that. And what did you say and what did you mean? And did you say this and all those things? And pretty soon you start to lose a little confidence because you start getting filled with inferiority. I know that. That's what I struggle with. I got to get rid of that. I got to put it on the table. I got to pick up the confidence that God has given me because I'm a child of God and go with that, right? So when we talk about renewing like eagles, both of these scriptures talk about that. But I want to talk to you about this whole thing of desire and dreams. And we'll get to this. You guys remember a song back in the 70s? The Monkees sang Daydream Believer. You remember Daydream Believer? I can't remember the words to it, but I remember the song. And I looked it up the other day because I wanted to hear the words, but I couldn't really find it. But what they gave me was a guy that wrote the song, Daydream Believer, and he said this: I one time was needing to write a song and realized I'd wasted the entire day daydreaming. He had wasted the entire day just daydreaming. And he wrote the song, Daydream Believer. See, I think that sometimes we need to understand that God gave us the ability, absolutely gave us the ability to desire and to dream. That's what he did. He gave that, he put that in us. He put that next slide up for me. I want you to see this. He gave us, the enemy would not give you the ability to dream. In fact, when the enemy comes in, he removes creativity from you. Is anybody, are you guys listening to me? Somebody smile and tell me you're not dead. If you're not dead, smile. If you are dead, we'll drag you out. All right. The enemy never gives you creativity. You know what I notice about society right now? This is kind of a rant that I have, and my son Jason kind of gets on to me. But listen, I grew up when music was good, and there was classics. And we don't get that anymore. I mean, I guess there's some music that people like, but it's not there. Or if we look at television right now, have you noticed how many remakes there are of TV? They're remaking every show that came out earlier because there's no more creativity. Because let me tell you that when the enemy comes in, he takes away the ability to dream. Let me say it again. He takes away the ability to daydream. He takes away the ability to desire godly things. He pulls it all away from us. And we kind of left it to the world. You guys get creative and we'll get real. Right? Yeah. Dreaming is part of God's design, his divine design he put into us. He made us to be dreamers. I mean, there was lots of dreams where people would have in the Old Testament especially. They would dream all kinds of things. Ask Debbie Hare about her dream. She got a dream. We heard last week. But let me tell you, sometimes when you're praying, what you're desiring or what you're dreaming, it's not immediate. It's delayed. And I think sometimes when it's delayed, it's because God's building character in us. You know, sometimes this is what happens to me. I say, Lord, this is what I need, and God doesn't give it to me. And I wonder, why isn't he giving this to me? And I begin to realize later on that had he given me that, it would have killed me spiritually, emotionally, maybe physically. But as time went on, when I was able, when my character was such that I could handle that, then God would pour that out on me when I could handle it. A lot of people think, well, I know what I'd like to do, and they, God, why don't you give me a fast car? And I can't think of one right now. Kill yourself, man. Physically, you just kill yourself. We don't give immaturity things that would be harmful to them. We build their character first, And so God doesn't immediately give us those things because he doesn't want to destroy us. But let me tell you that God's promises to the dreamer are extreme. Boy, if I can get to this, it's going to be good. 4 times in the book of John, 4 times in 3 consecutive chapters, God tells us this. He says, like in John 15:16, one before, he says that whatever you ask in my Father's name, he'll give it to you. How many know that that's an extreme promise? I mean, you ask in my name and I'll give it to you? Must mean something else. Because there's things I've asked and I haven't got. But that's God's promise. When preachers preach this, preachers say, well, if you ask, of course, in anything in his will. And I believe that, but that's not what he said. In chapter 15, he said, whatever you ask in the Father in my name, he may give it to you. Let me read 14:14. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it. How about 16:23? Got to keep up with me back there. Surely I say to you, whatever you ask in my Father's name, he will give it to you. Now, this is in the period of a small time. And here's these disciples, and he's basically said, I'm leaving. Actually, this verse, if you read some of them, he says, up in this time, you've asked the Father for nothing. But the reason they didn't ask the Father for anything is because, well, Jesus was there. They would ask Jesus for something. Jesus would ask the Father. He said, but the time is coming when you ask the Father, and most assuredly I say, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he'll give you. Now, how he could say that was if we go back to chapters 15, verse 7, and he says this, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, you'll ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you. Whatever you desire or whatever you dream. See, the desires of your heart are the dreams of your heart that God has given you the ability to do. And as sanctified believers, our dreams and desires should be sanctified. And God's saying those dreams are how you get things accomplished in the world. It's through those dreams. Oh, man. Because it's a relational journey, by the way. What he gave us was a blank check, but it's a relational journey. Like here it is, but in order for you to understand that, we've got to have, so many people take the Word of God and the statutes of God and the promises of God, and they make it robotic. They make it traditional. They make it clean and repetitious. And I'm here to tell you that God didn't come to give you a set of rules or a set of prayers or a set of things to say. Jesus wants to have a relationship with you. He wants it to become personal. So he says this in John chapter 15, verse 7. If you abide in me, if you abide in me, that is the manifested presence of God that you have. When we come into this meeting this morning, because of prayer this morning, I believe, and worship came, and we felt the presence of God, That felt realization of his presence is us abiding, of him abiding in us. Because the present wasn't out like this. You pick up the presence, although I think it fills the atmosphere. But the presence of God that you felt is the presence of God living inside of you, that because you're worshiping him and you're in relationship with him, you're actually speaking and praying to him. His presence wells up inside you. If you abide in me, and he says, if my words abide in you. That means anything that he has said or anything you've read, he has said. If you have that in you, I started doing a few things on my daily walk, is I picked up some prophetic words that have been recorded, and I listened to them on my walk. Because I want to make sure that his word, if it's a real word from God, I want to make sure that it's in me. If he abides in me and his word, if I abide in him and his words are abiding in me, that's this whole idea of picking up those words, taking the word of God and not making it, well, your word said, so you have to now. That's not a relationship. That's a legal process. Now I'm going to go through my rules and my regulations, and if there's anybody here that has systems, it's me. I got systems I got to do. But I have learned that systems don't work as good. There are things that I would never do. I don't dance. Mama don't dance and daddy don't rock and roll. I don't dance. There's nothing about me that can dance. I mean, I've tried to dance, and I'm glad that they don't videotape it, because I know it's got to be the most awkward thing. And so I don't dance. And my wife has said, well, let's go take dance lessons. And I said, I don't dance. I don't know how to dance. I don't want to learn how to dance. The most hilarious thing Debbie and I ever did, we were at a hotel up in Lake Tahoe, and it was built in a U, and down below was the nightclub, and there was no music coming out of the nightclub because it was just windows and lots of snow. And we're sitting up there watching these people dance with no music, and they're a little bit inebriated, and that was the funniest show I've ever seen. And I thought, thank God. I ought to take a picture. Back then there was no video cameras on your phones and stuff, because my goodness. But anyway, I don't dance. But this is what happened. I don't dance, and then I got grandchildren. Well, that'll get you dancing. Yeah. Not because I can dance, because I love those girls. I was driving Ada to school the other day, and on K-Light, on Friday, they have happy dance. That's what it's called, happy dance. And we were happy dancing in the car. And I thought, I am really doing well. We're happy dancing. And she looks over and she says, Papa, you're embarrassing me. Then whatever you desire, whatever you dream, it'll be done for you. If it matters to you, it matters to him. You don't know that sometimes. You think, well, it doesn't matter to God. I really began to believe that when I began to pray for things for people that came to pass that didn't matter to me, but I understood it mattered to them. The little things sometimes that seems, well, this isn't very spiritual and this isn't necessary, becomes very necessary. If it matters to you, it matters to him. God's giving us permission to desire. Proverbs says, hope makes the heart sick, but desire realized is a tree of life. You ever read that? But desire realized, that's manifested dreams, is a tree of life. Now, the tree of life is only mentioned 3 times in the Bible. Mentioned in Genesis, in the Garden of Eden. Remember, there was an angel guarding that tree. It's mentioned in Proverbs, and it's mentioned in Revelation in heaven at the end. It's mentioned at the beginning of the Bible, middle of the Bible, and the end of the Bible. And I kind of think of things that was, things that is, and things that will be kind of thing. But the tree of life is still around. And what the tree of life did was if you ate from the tree of life, you would be locked into whatever state you were in and live forever. So in the Garden of Eden, the reason that God wouldn't let them eat from that tree is because they had sinned. And what's worse than being a sinner on this earth is no hope of redemption forever. And so God in his great mercy said an angel wouldn't let them near the tree of life. Since then, we've been looking for the fountain of youth and those kinds of things. Everybody's wanting to look younger. But the whole process is that the Bible says that the tree of life actually talks about eternal purpose in your life. So he says when you begin to dream and that dream is realized, those realized dreams are the things that are your eternal purpose. Some of you say, I don't have any purpose in life. It's because you haven't learned how to dream, how to desire. See, the enemy has come in and said you're being selfish because you're desiring certain things. And that is not true. That is not true. God gave you the ability to desire, the ability to dream, the ability to create, the ability to daydream. You did it when you were younger. Just quit doing it as you got older. Many believers, because of disappointment, they've lost the capacity to dream. Many believers, because of disappointment, have lost the capacity to dream. And we're not trying to manipulate God to get what we want. In fact, a real prayer of God wants to give you the prayer before you pray it. It's not like you're making him do something he doesn't want to do. He wants to do this. But he also doesn't just want to do it. And you just walk away. He said, didn't we heal 10 lepers? Where are they at? I mean, he expected those healed lepers to at least come and converse with him, to interact with him, because he's a relational God. He's not a non-relational God. He's not stuck up in heaven someplace, not paying attention to what's going on the earth. The enemy, the deceiver, has come down and said that God doesn't care or there wouldn't be any of these problems in the world. That is not true. Jackie read today. We would start talking positive about our nation, we'd see a change. Every time I turn around, I hear another preacher saying, America's going to hell in a handbasket, and Jesus, please come quickly. Get us out of this mess. Well, this is the mess of our own doing. He didn't start this mess. We started this mess. All of a sudden, now we begin to realize what is going on. I got to be careful here, but you that know me will know. I've had to almost quit watching television. I enjoy coming in the evenings, and Debbie and I usually have 2 hours of TV watching in the evenings, and I like murder mysteries, and we're saying I don't know what else, I don't know where to go. Maybe we need to go back to the 50s and look at Charlie Chan mysteries or so. I don't know what to do. Because of the garbage that people are putting out in the name of creativity, it's nothing but just filth. You say, well, you're talking about some of my favorite shows, and I can make it through it. No, I don't think you can. I think that what it'll do is that it will infect you until you're not aware of it any longer. That's Pastor Ron meddling. We've given up the right to dream and to be creative and to think outside the box. And now we call it discipline. I have disciplines. I can do these certain things. What if God wanted you to do something different? What if God wanted you to think something different? What if what you've been thinking for the last 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, what if you've been thinking for the last week, God wants to get involved? Because, see, when you get a tradition, you don't have to think. When you get a tradition, you don't have to interact. I mean, we laugh about this, but we say the same declaration, the same prayers over and over again. We don't even have to think about it anymore. We're saying it, we're filling it in, we're covering all of our bases. I understand this. I'm the one that told you to do 100 declarations a day. But it didn't mean for you to do the same ones every day, every day, every day. Because when you do that, then you don't need a relationship with Jesus. Well, Lord, what would you have me pray today? That's what he's looking for. Am I here? Are you here? Okay, just want to make sure you're still alive. Maybe I should quit. There's so many people so afraid of getting it wrong, they're not doing anything right. Let me say that again, because that ought to be a T-shirt somewhere. People are so afraid of doing something wrong, they're not doing anything right. You used to dream, then you quit dreaming because you say, well, I just don't think I can do it anymore. Dreams. There are certain things. Well, this is good. This slide's great. There are certain things that simply just will not be done unless somebody dreams. I might end here. I don't know which farther I can go here. I never got to Psalms 103. We'll get to it next week, I guess. I have video of us standing in that hallway up there. It wasn't even ours. This building wasn't ours. They made a mistake of giving me the keys. By the way, they gave me the keys to the entire North Bend Unified School District. I had them all. Didn't know it at that time, found out later. I got video of us standing up there, declaring in those hallways what we were dreaming. It was amazing. I went back and looked at the pictures. I can't find that video. It's someplace in my stuff, but I can't. But I remember saying this. I can just see this. We're in a school. There's junk everywhere. Every room is full of old, broken down school equipment. It was a mess. I remember walking in here and saying, I can see this. And God gave me a dream. Nobody wanted this dream. At that time, I was the only dreamer. Everybody else was overwhelmed. And I remember standing in this hallway and say, you know what I can see? I can see these rooms converted into apartments. And I can see people who need housing. I can see them in here, and we'll call it safe and sane and sober housing. And I remember they were looking at me just like you're looking at me. Because at that time, we were trying to get $5,000 scraped together for the deposit. And we figured it was going to take $500,000 to buy it and fix it up. And we couldn't find $5,000. I had given everything I had. There was no more money for me. You know, this turnip had been squeezed all it could be. We did get the money. And we got $300,000. And God miraculously allowed us to build that. You know how it came about? It was a good thing for us for a long time. You know how it came about? It was just a dream. Nobody else was doing it. I didn't know any other church that ever did it. I found out since others did. But we just had a dream. Nobody else followed the dream. I just got up and spoke the dream. I just said what I was dreaming. This is what I'm dreaming. I can see this place. Do you know what happens when you get disappointed in things and the cares of this earth come down on you? You know what happens to you? You begin to lose the ability to dream. This last few months have been horrible for me. Disappointments. Gossip from 25 years ago, 30 years ago, coming back up. You know what it does to me? It causes me to be depressed. Friday, I think it was Friday. Man, I was so depressed I couldn't hardly move. And I thought, well, this is ridiculous. This is stupid. What is wrong with me? I hadn't got to walk in a couple of days. And God hadn't had our time together. I'd done my prayers, I'd done my studies, I did all my stuff, all my tradition, and all the systems I always do, and I always do. But I found something so important here, is that for an hour and a half, I walk and I talk to God, and I got nothing to say. We just dream together. And I say, Lord, wouldn't it be cool if? Say this with me. I'll say it one more time, and you can say it with me the second time. Wouldn't it be cool if? Say it with me. Wouldn't it be cool if? See, that just arouses all kinds of dreams. I asked Debbie, I said, Debbie, how would you finish that? And Debbie said, I've been saying this for months. Wouldn't it be cool if we had 400 people worshiping in the presence of God? Not just 400 bodies sitting in a pew. Wouldn't it be cool if we had 400 people worshiping in the presence of God?
We hope you enjoyed this message from Grace Church. Please stay connected with us throughout the week online at gchurch.us or on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks again and have a great week.